So let's talk about mental toughness on the subject of fighting. Now, when I say fighting, I'm not talking about fist fighting. The only people that fist fight are 12-year-olds and boxers and stupid people, okay, drunks. So don't fight this kind of fight. What I'm talking about is fighting with your mind, okay, conflict. Embracing conflict, engaging in constructive conflict. Sometimes it can be destructive conflict, unfortunately. Sometimes you just have to fight to stand up for yourself. And we've all heard about that, whether it's in business or it's a relationship or whatever it is. I mean, my philosophy on that has always been what you tolerate from other people in relationships, whether it's business relationships, it's personal relationships, it's your marriage, it's your siblings, it's your friends, it's your neighbors. Whatever you're willing to tolerate in terms of their abuse is the way they'll treat you. So if you're being mistreated in any way, I would recommend very strongly that you fight back hard. That's mental toughness on fighting, in my opinion. And you may have a different opinion, and that's fine. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying through the study of this subject for 30 years, the most successful people when it comes to fighting back or fighting for their beliefs or some kind of ideology or some kind of principle or some kind of value, the people that stand up and stand up strong are typically the ones that end up most fulfilled, satisfied, and happy with their lives, not because they're beating anyone, simply because you don't typically win in a fight. You don't beat someone in that kind of a fight. You just draw the line in the sand and say, this is my line. Do not cross it. Or risk more aggression or risk me walking away completely, like in a relationship situation. And I don't know if you've read this book. This is my first book. Back in 2004, I wrote 177 Mental Toughness Secrets of the World Class. Of course, I should mention my co-host here, Mr. Ben Franklin, who you may know. This is the statue of Ben. I've been carrying around to different houses for the last 20 years. One of the stupid things I bought in Las Vegas when I had too much time in between speeches at a convention. Walking around waiting for my turn to go on stage, and you end up buying stuff. I think I bought this somewhere in Vegas, I don't know, 100 years ago. But anyway, I talk about this stuff in the Mental Toughness book, these kinds of concepts. And they're for your consideration because in life, again, I believe you're going to get what you tolerate. And it's a matter of fighting sometimes for your principles or values, whatever it is, or fighting back, when you're attacked. And again, it's not about winning. It's not about, because you typically don't win. You just establish the line. In some things, this is the other part of it. Some things are worth fighting for, and most things, in my opinion, are not. Choose your fights. As they say in marriage and relationships, pick your battles because you're going to have plenty of them. But you only have so much mental energy with which to fight. Save it, harness it, protect it, and don't let it loose unless it needs to be let loose. It's a tiger in a cage. And you don't want to let the tiger out unless you're willing to accept the consequences of what a tiger can do when it's let out of a cage and it's been pinned up. And sometimes that's what happens when it comes to fighting. An example of what's going on right now, I think, around the world is there's a struggle for, especially in the United States, in my opinion, for democracy. There are people literally lying their way, trying to undermine democracy and create an autocratic society in the United States. And so goes the United States. Democracy in the United States, in my opinion, so goes democracy around the world. It will disintegrate democracy overnight if the U.S. falls. And we have a very good chance of falling, unfortunately. And that's just, so my point of saying that is not to be political or necessarily get off the subject, but I'm willing to stand up social media-wise on TV. I've done it on radio. I've done it in print, and I'll continue to do it to fight for the values of democracy because I've traveled all over the world for many years, like a lot of you guys have, and I've seen a lot of things and met a lot of people and been in a lot of countries, had businesses in 10 different countries or 9 different countries, I guess you could say, and in addition to the U.S. And democracy, like I think Nixon said, it's terrible, got a quote, but it's the worst system in the world, capitalism, democracy, except for everything else. It's really the best out there, and we need to protect it. So my point is, it's worth fighting for, but other things are not worth fighting for. You know, if my neighbor says, well, your dog pooped in my yard, and I don't think that's true, I think I'm just going to go clean it up and not fight for it. What's the difference? Is it a really big deal? But if someone is lying their way to try to create an autocratic society in the United States, I'm going to stand up and fight, and I don't care how many people don't like me or unfollow me or whatever. I just don't care. And that's the mental toughness part. And that's where this ends up. The way you get mentally tough when it comes to fighting is to fight. I don't necessarily enjoy fighting. I don't think anyone really does unless you're drunk or stupid. Okay? But it's necessary. It's a necessary part of life, and that's how you get mentally tough. And the thing about it is, once you get in enough battles, you stop caring what other people think, and then you really get tough. Because when you stop caring what people think and you're willing to voice your opinions and take your stand and hold your ground, well, you become a very dangerous person in what you're saying, because you're not limited. You're not relegated to the construct of other people's beliefs and how those beliefs affect you. You don't care. Sure, you prefer that they like you. You prefer that they agree with you, but you don't need it. Preference over need is very, very powerful. So consider these ideas on fighting, and I'd love to hear your comments. Thanks for watching.